Coming off all the momentum in Game 2, the Braves walked into Philadelphia and got hammered. They are now one game away from being eliminated, and it's the nightmare scenario. It's BravesKast, let's talk about it. After a thrilling victory in Game 2, where the Braves overcame a 4-0 deficit, they actually scored first in Game 3 with an Ozzie Albies single that scored Ronald Acuna Jr. in the third inning. Unfortunately, it was all downhill from there. Nick Castellanos led off the bottom of the third with a solo blast, and then with 2 outs, Bryce Harper hit a dagger of a 3-run homer. Yeah, it was like his homer from last year in LCS, where it was you could have seen it coming. It was bad. Elder pitched to 2 more batters, and then Michael Tonkin came in, gave up a 2-run double to JT Realmuto, and it was 6-1. The Braves never got close. They had base runners on all day, 10 hits in total. The Phillies only had 11 hits. But the Phillies had 6 homers, and the Braves had 0. They were completely overmatched. Bryce Elder looked great for 2 innings, and it was clear by the time he got to Harper he shouldn't have been in the game. Going with Tonkin was definitely an interesting decision. Clearly, the Braves didn't score enough for it to matter, but Tonkin is the worst reliever on the team. Second worst if you look at Daysbel Hernandez. I saw on Twitter a few users pointing out that in Game 1, the Rangers were in a similar scenario where Rob Thompson went ahead and took out Suarez with runners on, and he replaced him with Jeff Hoffman, who ended up allowing that big homer to Riley a game later. But the Rangers didn't allow, or not the Rangers, Ranger and the Phillies didn't allow a run that inning. Rob Thompson went with a high leverage reliever. Brian Snitker stuck with the starter who was struggling long enough for him to have 6 earned runs, and then turned to probably the last person in the bullpen that you want on. From there's really nothing you can point out. He didn't go with Smith Shawver until the 5th inning. You could argue that Brad Hand should have been the replacement, should have come on to pitch to Bryce Harper in the 3rd inning, but he ended up allowing a homer to Harper anyway in the 5th. So Harper beat the Braves. He's a great player. Very disappointing. There was also a lot of storylines revolving around Orlando Arcia and Bryce Harper coming into the game. One member of Cespedes Family Barbecue quoted Arcia in the locker room going, "Attaboy Harper," after the game-ending double play on Monday. I don't really care if it happened or not. It seems like a really mild thing to say, especially when you're in your own locker room celebrating. Phillies fans took it personally. Braves fans are in denial that it even happened. I don't really care if it happened or not. It's such a mild storyline. Harper took it personally. He eyed Arcia both times he rounded the bases on his home runs. If that's what Harper needs to get him into playoff mode, whatever. He's a great player. I don't want to discount Bryce Harper, but yeah, that was the storyline of the day, and it definitely did not look good for the Braves. As far as the rest of the game went, there were hits all over the place. There was a point where it was still 6-1 Phillies. The Braves had just scored their 2nd run of the game. Michael Harris came up with runners on 1st and 2nd. If he had been able to reach, Matt Strom was pitching at the moment. If he had been able to reach, Ronald Acuna Jr. would have come up, and he would have represented, the 5th run. That didn't happen. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably before the 2nd run. But the Braves had chances to score. They didn't come through. Even in that 9th inning against Michael Lorenzen, they got runners on the corners. Matt Olson grounded out to Alec Boehm to end the game. Didn't get a run there. A lot can be talked about with the pitching, and I don't want to, dismiss the fact that the pitching was terrible tonight, especially leaving Bryce Elder in too long. I told Cole, No More Fielders, that I wasn't confident with Elder, as well as he pitched in the first 2 innings. He's one of those guys who needed to have a super short leash in the playoffs. That's what the Phillies did in Game 1 with Ranger Suarez, who is a starter. And it worked out for the Rangers. I keep saying the Rangers. It worked out for the Phillies. And as soon as Castellanos hit that home run, the Braves needed to have a guy in the bullpen who was throwing. I think they panned to the bullpen after the first or second out, and you had guys kind of just stretching. We can talk about, whether or not Bryce Elder needed to pitch to the next batters after the Castellanos homer. Marsh hit a lining single, but he did get 2 outs. He got an infield ground ball to Turner. Turner reached. He's fast. It was in a perfect spot. But I think by the time you get to Bryce Harper, Elder needed to come out of the game, and there was no one ready. Eventually, and they went to Tonkin after 3 batters. It was just a mirror image. I felt like I was watching a replay of a bad movie I'd watched last year. Very identical situations where the Braves have a starter who gets announced late, who looks good for 2 innings, and then the wheels fall off and Brian Snitker and the coaching staff are left without an answer. The Braves are down 2-1. One more loss is in elimination, as we know. But I think the Braves are in better shape this year than they were last year going into Game 4. Spencer Strider pitched great in Game 1. He had no offensive support. That is going to be, unless the Braves can score in Game 4, that's going to be the storyline of this series, is that an historically great offense forgot how to score. Bryce Elder and the pitching staff could have allowed 100 runs tonight, and it wouldn't have mattered because the Braves only put up 2. When your offense only scores 2 runs, there's so little margin for error that your pitching staff essentially has to be perfect. Spencer Strider, 7 innings, 2 runs on the Game 1 on Saturday, wouldn't have won tonight's game. It would have gone into extras. The Braves only scored 2 runs. They only scored 5 runs in their win. We know the Braves offense is much more capable of scoring. The Phillies hit 6 home runs tonight. The Braves only have the 2 home runs in the series, the Travis d'Arnaud homer and the Austin Riley homer. This team is a lot better than they have been showing themselves, and unless they can start to score, Spencer Strider could have the start of his life tomorrow. But if the Braves only give him 1 run of support, he doesn't have much margin for error. Fortunately, or maybe this is a bad sign, but the Braves did not lose back-to-back starts by Spencer Strider. Strider pitched 32 starts this year. He's a 20-game winner, which doesn't leave a lot of room to lose a game. The Braves offense normally came through for Strider. The most losses in a 5-game span with Strider on the mound was 3. The Braves never lost a game, back-to-back games that he started. There was a sequence back in, I believe, May or June where the Braves lost one of his starts, won the next one, and lost the next. Usually, Strider is a good sign of things to come. And then if the Braves can pull off the victory in Game 4, they head back to Atlanta with Max Fried on the mound. And then it's whether or not the ace of the Braves for the past 3-4 seasons can be the ace of the team again. This is far from over. It is far from over for the Braves. I think their pitching matchups are as optimally aligned as you can possibly have going in to an elimination game. These are the two guys you want on the mound. We'll see. The Phillies tomorrow will likely have a bullpen game. They didn't announce it. I'm recording right after the game has ended. But I'd expect the Phillies to do the same thing they did in game one. They go to Ranger, they pitch him 1.5, 2 times through the order, and then they go to their high leverage relievers, who they didn't need to use tonight. The Braves and the Phillies didn't use the high leverage relievers. That can be a good thing for the Braves because you have a fully rested Pierce Johnson, Minter, Jimenez, Iglesias. But it's a good thing for the Phillies too because you have that back end of the bullpen: Alvarado, Hoffman, Kimbrel. They didn't pitch either. If the Phillies are going with a bullpen game, though, they did use those medium leverage relievers, which could be beneficial for the Braves, or it could not. 2 days of back-to-back work isn't unusual in today's game. I know most managers don't like to go 3 games in a row, but 2 games is still back-to-back work. It's increased workload on the arm. The Braves at that point will have seen every pitcher multiple times in the series. So, they need to come in with a game plan. They need to kind of figure out who's relieving who. But this could be a good thing for the Braves. If they hit like they did in game one, obviously, they're going back to Atlanta eliminated. But there's a good opportunity for game 4. You have your best starter who has thrived in big games. If you look at Strider's stats versus good teams and bad teams, it's ridiculously absurd. He's great against great teams and bad against bad teams. The Phillies are a great team. They're one of the reasons I would have loved to see the Marlins instead of the Phillies. But I'm trying my best not to lose my mind or come off as a doomsday type. The Phillies are a good team. I'm not happy about the Braves losing tonight. But I am happy that the Braves get to use their best starters. This could be a situation where if they were in the Phillies' shoes and they went down 2-1, they would be having to go to a Bryce Elder type tomorrow, and they don't have to. But, they have to win, have to score. I'm going to say they can't win 1-0, but Strider on the mound, who knows, maybe they can. But this team hit almost 2 home runs a game during the regular season. They are hitting less than 1 in the playoffs. That's not sustainable to win. I'll be, one of us will be with you guys after tomorrow's game. If you are enjoying the content we're putting out, like and subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.